Hi guys, Anna here from the Ascentic office in Sri Lanka. So I shared a playbook a couple of days ago, and it's been really fun to see the feedback and amount of comments and questions on this topic, distributed teamwork and how you make that work. So I was just thinking, let me put you guys down there. I was just thinking that I will be doing some deep dives into some of the topics that I talk about in the playbook and that you guys have been asking some questions around. And one of those topics that I've been getting some questions around is team culture. How do you build the team culture that you want to have in your team when your team members might be coming from various parts of the world and being distributed across? And here I wanted to share my 3 components of building the team culture that you want. Starting with the first point. The first point is understanding the cultural context. So when we look at the cultural context of your team members, we have to remember to both look at the country or regional culture that will be impacting them, but also, not to be forgotten, the company culture. Based on where your team member have been working before, maybe their own organization, if they are a consultant, that company culture will of course also be impacting how they're working, their way of collaborating and so on, right? Because that company culture would be promoting and discouraging different practices. So really important to have a look at and understand both the country regional culture as well as the company culture of your team members. And when looking at the country or regional culture, one useful tool that we have actually been using a bit in some workshops is the Hofstede cultural dimensions. So this is quite useful tool where you can actually do some comparison. For example, between Sweden and Sri Lanka, how are those countries different and similar in different aspects? And obviously here I do tread a bit with caution, because when we are comparing different cultures, we do tend to start generalizing a bit. So be mindful and careful when adding this as a part of a workshop, but it can actually be a really good starting point for those kind of discussions. So that's the first step, understanding the context. The second step is setting your expectations. Now, this is so important for building a group, building a team, setting up a new project, actually starting with setting the expectations. That is something that we do tend to forget. And what you do here is basically talking with the team members about what do I expect from you guys, and in return, what can you expect from me? So one example that is very common when we work with Scandinavian customers and companies would be that they have an expectation for all their team members to dare to question, come with their own suggestions and input, and even if it's me, like the team leader or whoever I am, who is coming up with a design proposal or some kind of a suggested approach, that everyone feels super confident in just bringing up their own perspective on it, saying like, no, I do think we should consider this other approach as well, or I do see these risks with taking this approach. Basically having the confidence to speak up about those kind of things. So setting that, talking about it openly in the beginning, and as well talking about what can you guys expect from me. So in that example, you would be able to expect from me that I would always be greeting that as positive input to the decision making and how we are forming this product or how we are going about the work that we're doing, and I would never take it as criticism or in any way negative. So that's number 2, setting the expectations. Number 3 is actually about cementing the team culture, and how we do that is through feedback. Feedback is so important for any teamwork, any collaboration, such an important part. But again, it's something that we have to remind ourselves to actually do. So here, remember both that we have the positive and confirming feedback, talking about, okay, that was super good that you did this thing, or I really like the fact that you spoke up in this meeting, or whatever it is that our team members are doing that is good and aligned with our team culture. Make sure to give them the praise for that. And as well, the corrective or constructive feedback on things, behaviors, practices that are not aligned with the team culture that you want to foster. Make sure to bring that up directly with the person concerned. And we can talk a lot about giving feedback. If it's something to remember about giving feedback and what to think about in doing so, positive or confirming feedback, preferably in a public setting where other team members or other people can also hear the praise, and constructive corrective feedback, the more negative feedback, always in a one-to-one setting, never in front of other people. Right, those were my 3 components in building team cultures. So if you found this useful, stay tuned, and I will be going through more of these kind of topics ahead. Ciao.